Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today on Masechtas Beitzah daf Gimel. We are going to begin on Gimel with Aleph about 6 lines from the top. We were learning in yesterday's daf that when it comes to an egg that's born on Yom Tov, Beis Shammai says that you can eat it. However, Beis Hillel says Lo Yisaychel, you may not. The question is, why can you not eat this egg? So we gave 4 answers. One was because the issue of either muksar nolad. Second is because of hachana darabah, because it was something that was prepared from the day before, and you can only prepare from a weekday to a Yom Tov or a weekday to a Shabbos, but not if, let's say, Yom Tov falls out right after Shabbos. Third explanation we said was because of mashkin paris and noishrin, because of the fruits that fall off a tree that you may end up plucking another fruit off the tree, and therefore this egg in certain ways is comparable to that. And the fourth is because of mashkin shezavu. When it comes to liquid that oozes out of a fruit, so you're not allowed to consume that because we're afraid you may squeeze out more fruit, which is isser of dush, of threshing. And therefore we say, in certain regards, it's comparable to this egg. So now the Gemara wonders, why do we need 4 different answers? So kul karav nachman lamri kikushin. So the reason why people didn't hold like the shita of Rav Nachman and Muksa is because we had a question. As Rashi reminds us, on yesterday's daf, we said, why does the Mishnah only talk about the egg? Why does it talk about the tarnagolos as well? So the fact that it doesn't mention both, so it sounds like it's really an egg issue, it's not a tarnagol issue. So if it's not the tarnagol, if it's not the mother that's the issue, it's obviously not Muksa. It's not an issue of muksar, fine. Karab and Nami Lamri, Hachana Leislahu. They don't hold of Hachana, or at least on this level that he holds that's a din deraisa. El Rav Yossi, my time Yitzchak. These last 2 answers that we said. So Amach Beya, when it comes to an egg, Uchla, it's food. Uperis, Uchla. And the fruit also is food. So you can compare the two. Mafuki Mashkin, when it comes to the liquid that oozes out, it's a liquid, it's not a food. And therefore, because of that, when they made the gezerah of Mashin Shizabu, they did not include this beya. Because, again, the beya is not a liquid, it's a food. So therefore, according to him, it doesn't make sense that the reason is because of Mashin Shizabu. So, Rav Yitzchak, my time, Amar Krav Yosef. Why does he say it's because of Peiros and Neishrin? So when it comes to the egg, balua, it's swallowed up inside of its mother instead of the tarnagolos. And then finally, it oozes out. Umashkin balua, and so to the liquid inside of a fruit is also swallowed up in the fruit, and then it oozes out. Lafuki Peiros, when it comes to these fruits that fell off the tree, dimulgoyig b'kaima, it's actually just already exposed. It's already there. So therefore you can't compare that case of the egg to these fruits. As we're now going to see, Rabbi Yochanan holds the issue of why Beis Hillel says you cannot eat this egg is because of mashkin shizabu, because of, again, the liquid that can ooze out on its own from a fruit. So therefore, because you may end up squeezing the fruit, so too we make a gzer when it comes to this egg born on Yom Tov. How do we see that Rabbi Yochanan holds the issue of Be'er Shenol Yom Tov is because of Mashkin Shezavu? To Rabbi Yochanan Rami. Rabbi Yochanan asked a contradiction. To Rabbi Yehuda. He saw that Rabbi Yehuda says 2 contradictory things. Mishani, and then he also answers this question as well. So Tanakh. It says like this: Ein seichetin esaperos. One is not allowed to squeeze out fruit. L'hotzi mehen mashkin, to take the liquid out of it. You're not allowed to do that. However, v'im yotzum atzman. Let's say you didn't do it, but it just oozed out by itself. So the din is asurin. It's still asur. You're not allowed to consume those liquids. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, he says it depends. Im lo'oichlin. If the purpose of this fruit was for you to eat it, it's a food, and then the liquid came out of it, so hayotz mehen mutter, because you're not really going to want to squeeze this fruit anymore, because you really want it for a food, not for its juice. So therefore, because of that, even though it oozed out, but since it oozed out by itself, we're not going to be concerned, and therefore you can consume that juice that oozed out by itself. However, says Rabbi Yehuda, being mashkin, let's say you have oranges, and the purpose of it is for its juice. So then, even if it oozed out by itself, you're not allowed to drink that juice because you're going to maybe there's a chance you'll end up squeezing the orange to get more fruit, more juice. So Rabbi Yehuda makes a distinction whether it's a food or a liquid. Alma, what do we say? We say that kol oichlin Rabbi Yehuda ochel de'efrasu. According to Rabbi Yehuda, he's of the opinion that anything which is a food, anything that comes from it, is like the food itself too. And therefore that's the reason why you're allowed to consume this liquid, because it's considered really part of the food itself. And just like you could eat the fruit, so too you can eat the liquid that comes from the fruit, which is for the food. It's a solid. So this is the contradiction now. Minhu, the Oda, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda says even more than this. What do you mean the Ode? So Rashi says, so it says in Masechtas Eruvin like this: Rosh Hashanah Shahaya Yarishema Tisaver. Let's say we're concerned about what the status is. Is there going to be another month? The month, is it going to be a mole? V'yushne Yomim Tovim, and therefore we may, because of this doubt, have 2 days of Yom Tov. So Ma'ariv Adam Shnei Eruvin. He says that you can make regarding Erev Tchumim, you can make it in opposite directions. So you could have on one day going in that way and one day going that way. The Ksaver Shtei Kedushos Hain. Echad Chol v'Echad Yom Tov. Lo Yadin and Hay Chol v'Hay Yom Tov. We just don't know which one's which. But he holds that Shtei Kedushos. We're going to understand this din at great length. There's a machlokas under certain holidays, whether it's Shtei Kedushos, they're considered like 2 separate days, or Kedusha Achas. So if it's Kedusha Achas, then you can't do this because it's considered like one day. It's considered like a Yom Richta, like a long day. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, he says you could make this stipulation because he holds that it is Shtei Kedushos. So that was what was said before. Now we can see the Gemara. And not only that, Rabbi Yehuda Masna Adam al Kakala Shel Peros B'Yom Tov Rishon. A person can make a condition regarding a basket full of fruits. Again, on the first day, v'ochel b'sheni. Can't eat it on the first day, but he can eat it on the second. Now, he can make a condition. Says Rashi, again, he holds Shtei Kedushos. V'shachach lo isar, let's say what happens, he has this basket of tevel. V'shachach, he forgot lo isar me'erev Yom Tov. He didn't take off the proper tithes from this basket. The problem is you're not allowed midrabanan to take trumas and maisers on Yom Tov. So what you could do is you could be ma'aser b'Yom Tov b'tanai. You can make a condition and say the following: if today is a weekday and tomorrow is the real day of Yom Tov, so then I'm going to be taking the trumas and maisers today, which I'm allowed to because it's chol, and then tomorrow I'll eat it. If today is Yom Tov, then what I'm doing is nothing. It's only going to be chal when I take up the trumas and maisers tomorrow, because tomorrow is going to be a weekday, and of course I'll be able to eat it then. So therefore, he allows you to eat only on the second day, but not the first. Not only that, says the Gemara, v'chein Beitzah shenolda b'rishon, teichel v'sheni. If, let's say, you have an egg that was born on the first, so again, you can make this condition because it's like a sveka diyoma, shtei kedushos, so you can eat it on the second day. What do we see? V'sheni in b'rishon lo. You can only eat it on the second day, not the first. Says Rashi, Alma, kol midi dezav mimkoima b'Yom Tov. Anything that comes out or flows out on Yom Tov, v'afil uchla aser. Even though this is for food, nonetheless it's still aser. How can we therefore understand Rabbi Yehuda? On one hand, Rabbi Yehuda said that a person is allowed to drink this liquid that oozed out of the fruit because uchla de'ofras, even though it happened on Yom Tov, just like the egg that came out, you would be able to eat the egg because uchel de'ufras. But over here, it's mashmi. You have to make this condition that you can only do this, and therefore you'll be able to eat it on the second day, not the first. But why not? Why can't you eat it on the first day? According to him, if you hold Uchad Ofros, it should be okay. Mishani Rabbi Yochanan, so Rabbi Yochanan answers this, and he says Muchlefas Hashita. Basically, what he does, as we often find, is he flips them around. Says Rashi, when it says the Ein Seichatin above the first case, the Ipoch der Bihudal Rabbanim. So Bihud and the Rabbanim will flip their opinions. In other words, according to the Rabbanim, we said that you're never allowed to do it. So that's actually Rabbi Huda. So Rabbi Huda is going to be of the opinion that you're never allowed. Even when it comes to food, you're not allowed to drink this liquid that oozed out. Why? Just like he says over here. On the first day, you can't eat the egg. On the first day, you can't eat this basket of peros because you didn't take off the Trumas and Maasros. So therefore, only the Rabbanan hold of Uchad Ofros, but not Rabbi Huda. Now, the fact that we even ask this as a question, it's obviously a proof that it is really all the same. And we talks about Beitzah, talks about an egg. So obviously the whole issue of Be'er Shenol D'Miyotib, how as Rabbi Yochanan poses the stira and then answers it, must be that Rabbi Yochanan is of the opinion that the issue of an egg that's born in Yom Tov is because of Mashkin Shezovu. Okay, as we continue to Gimel Amud Beis, Ravina Omer, Ravina says L'olam lo tepuch. No. You don't have to change the shitas. So the question is, so Rabbi Yehuda, what does he hold? In the first Beitzah, he sounds like, again, he holds Uchad Ofros. You'd be able to eat an egg that comes on the first day. But the second Beitzah says no. So how do we understand this? Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Yehuda is trying to understand the sheet of the Rabbanim. He says like this: according to me, it's completely mutter even on the first day. Why? According to you, that you don't hold up Uchad Ofros, and therefore, even if a liquid oozes out of a fruit that's a food, you hold that you're not allowed to eat it. So oideli mias, at least agree with me, the mesheni shari the shtei kedusha saying that you should be able to make this condition, and therefore you should be able to eat it on the second day. The Amli Rabban lo kedusha achas he. According to the Rabban, they said no, it's kedusha achas. It's considered like one day, and since it's one day, you can't make a stipulation. If today is this, if tomorrow is that, because it's all considered to be like one kedusha, and therefore even on the second day, according to the Rabban, you wouldn't be able to do it. Ravina bereda Rab Ula Oymar Hacha b'Tarnagolos Hamenas Agalo Beitzah. Perhaps what we could talk about is a case where we have a tarnagol that its purpose is to lay eggs. It's not for eating. And therefore the tarnagolos, what is the issue? The problem with the egg is not because of mashkin shizavu. The issue is because it's muksa. And therefore, that's the reason why it's not a steer on to Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yehuda. He does hold Uchad Ofros, but he also holds this an issue of muksa, because this tarnagol is a midas gadol beitzah, and therefore you can't. It's considered to be muksa. Okay, stop there for 1 second. Let's see question 7. Amr Yehuda beitzah shandal berishin terach b'sheni. So mashme derishin miya aser. Then the first day it's aser. So we ask the stira Rabbi Yehuda. The mitzinu the islay kol oimen loichel eno b'chlal gezeres mashkin shezavu. So it says beis tirutze gemar levad memachlepas hashita. It's always the easy answer, but they're not letting me use it. So one is, as we said, really don't switch the shitas, but it's not a stira. Rabbi Yehuda actually holds you could eat it on the first day. It's l'devrei d'Rabbanan karmel, but the day shari metam d'ocha over. So second answer is you're right. Rabbi Yehuda actually holds you can eat it on the first day, because it's a tarnagos, and it's a gadol beitzim, and therefore it's aser mitam muksa. Okay, weiter. Meis for the Gemara asks the following question: Echad beitzah shenol b'Shabbos, v'echad beitzah shenol b'Yom. Doesn't make a difference if this egg was born on a Shabbos or a Yom Tov. You're not allowed to move it. You can't use it to cover up a kli. Not sure where you want to use that up against your bed. Most eggs that I have crack. Has a kli. You could cover a vessel so that it doesn't break. In other words, you could take a kli and cover up the egg, because this way you'll protect the egg. So you're not really touching the egg, you're just covering it up. The steika asura. And then he throws in this language that when it comes to a doubt, it's aser. Says Rashi, if it's a doubt, if this is aser, so kasach adartach, says Rashi, or halamin is savik nolda b'yamtiv savik b'chol asur b'yamtiv. We don't know when was this egg born. You just showed up on yamtiv morning. You haven't checked your chicken coop for a few days, and all of a sudden you see an egg there. The question is, was it just born, or was it born a couple of days ago? So the din is, when it comes to a suffix, it's aser. Now the imnis arba be'elef kun asuros. When it gets mixed up, if it would get mixed up with many, so the din is that all of them are aser. We don't say it's a batal b'shishim or min b'minoi, we have batal b'rob. No. You feel elef or batal. It's not batal at all. Which again, that itself is hard to understand. We usually hold things are batal. We'll have to understand that perhaps on another daf. Fine. Now Bishlam Rabba, I can understand according to the sheet of Rabba. He says the whole issue is really a mamash din deraisa. So habi sveika deraisa v'chol sveika deraisa l'chumra. So that makes sense. Again, if we're talking about, so why is this a din deraisa? So maybe it's only on a Yom Tov that falls out after Shabbos, but not necessarily a regular Shabbos, since that was a gzera already, a gzera we asked. So anyway, so when it said, this would be maybe gzera. So let's say the Isser of Hachana, the Rabba, is again when Yom Tov falls on the Sunday, right after Shabbos. So that, according to him, is the din deraisa. So how come, if you're not sure, why do we say suffix we're strict? The answer is because we know suffix deraisa l'chumra, and therefore we're strict. El Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yitzchak, Yermi Mishum Gzeros Sveika D'Rabbanan Hi V'chol Sveika D'Rabbanan L'Kula. We know the rule when it comes to rabbinic law. When there's a doubt, we go lenient. So when we're talking about Mashin Shazov, when we're talking about Paris and Nation, and some people wonder how about Muksa? Isn't Muksa also D'Rabbanan? Regardless, we definitely have an issue with this statement because it sounds very clear that the issue with this egg is in din deraisa. So the only one that really fits is Hakana de Rabba. So Amrulay Seifa Tain Lasavik Treifa. We're not talking in the Seifa about an egg. Was it born on a Shabbos or Yom Tov? Was it born on a weekday? No, because according to some of the Shittas, Paris and Nation, Mashkin Shizobu, it's the Durabanan, and we would say Lakula. But over here we're talking about Treifa. But we think that maybe this egg came from a Treifa animal. We don't know. Since it could have come from a Tarnagolas Treifa, it has nothing to do with the Yom Tov. But therefore, obviously, it's a din deraisa, and that's why we're strict. So why is it that it's not batal? We know that Isra Hektar, there is a din bittel. If you want to tell me you don't know, is today's Shabbos, was it born on Yom Tov? Was it born on a weekday? Havi davar sheish lo matirin. B'chol davar sheish lo matirin, I feel be'alful batal. A famous din that when you have something, even though it's usher now, but if it will become mutter eventually, so you wait. So davar sheish lo matirin. So we can understand if the issue is suffix Yom Tov, suffix chayil, so you would say pashut that it's a davar sheish lo matirin. Since we don't know, so we're gonna be lenient. We're not gonna be lenient. We're gonna make you wait. We're not gonna say it's batal. El iamrit suffix treifa davar she'ein lo matirin. Mitibata baruba. Something treif is usher today. It's gonna be usher next week, next month, forever. So there's no din of davar sheish lo matirin. So l'chayra it should be bata barob. Why do we say a field be'elful batal by treifa? V'chi tema Beitzah chashuva. Maybe we're talking about a chashav an egg. What's so chashav an egg? So there's not only is there davar sheish lo matirin is not batal, also a davar shebeminyan, something that is counted. So therefore it's very specific, and therefore that's also not batal. If you just have a million pieces of lentils of rice, so that's not considered to be a davar shebeminyan. However, when it comes to an eggs, you're going to open up the carton and you want to see there's 12 eggs there, so it's a davar shebeminyan. So therefore, maybe that's the reason why it's not batal. As we're now going to explain. Did not. Person has chavili, tilton, person has these bundles of tilton, Rashi calls it min kitnios, some types of beans, legumes, mate kader, to sweeten up a dish. Shel klaya karim. The problem is it's klaya karim. So what do? Yidluku. So the thing is, you have to burn it up, just like any din of klaya karim, as the pasuk says in Dvarim. Pen tukdash tukad eish. It's also bahana. So therefore, when it comes to something which is possibly kelayim, a forbidden mixture has to be destroyed. Nisarvu bacheros. Let's say it all got mixed up with kosher bundles. Kulon yidlaku. Dibra Meir says they have to be destroyed. It's not batal, even though this is something that is sometimes counted. It's not always counted. Rameir oimer eshidarku imanois mikadish. Only when it comes to something in which is counted all the time, and therefore it's a davar sheminyan continuously, that's aser. The chacham omrim ein mikadish ela shisha davar bilvad. Only 6 things. Rabbi Kiva oimer shiva. There was actually an additional 7th one. The elhein and goizi parach urimoini ba'adon. So you have either these nuts or pomegranates. The chavyois stumais, these closed barrels. The chalti trodin, and these prickly turnips. The kalchi krov and cabbage, with the las yavanis, these Greek gourds. Rabbi Kiva Moisev al kikar shel beis bal habayis, these breads. So haroyu arla, that which is fit for arla, the din is it's arla. Haroyu klai karim. We say that it is klai karim. Ve'itmar Allah. Rav Yochanan Amar Eshed Darkali Manu Shaninu. Rav Shimon ben Lachish Amar Kol Shedarkali Manu Shaninu. So the question is, sometimes it is counted, still is considered davar sheminyan not batal, or it's only things that are always counted. So Haniachol Rav Shimon ben Lachish, I can understand according to Rav Shimon ben Lachish, who says Kol Shedarkali Manu, something which is sometimes counted. It's the derech. So fine, that's also going to include these eggs, because these eggs are sometimes counted, not always. So the machlokus is if it's batal davar shebeminyan in this situation. Rabbi Yochanan according to Rabbi Yochanan, he's of the opinion that it needs to be if it's something which is not always counted, that is not considered to be a davar shebeminyan. It's not a davar chashuv enough to say it's never batal. So it is batal. So the question is, if that's what we're talking about, so then why do we say this egg is a field of elafo batal? Chayra, this egg should be batal. It's not a davar chashuv. So Amar Papa, Hai Tana de Litra Katsiyosu. This Tana is the Tana about the measurement of Katsiyos, Litra Katsiyos, which we're going to see exactly what this is. Look at Rashi. Gabi Litra Katsiyosu, Yamar Kol Davar Sheish Bo Minyan. Anything that's even sometimes counted, a field b'midi to Rabbanon, even something which is a rabbinic, if you go on Litra Katsios, the Ari B'Trumas Peros, the Rabbanon, will batal. Even in that situation, it is not batal. So as we mentioned before, by Truma needs a 1:100 ratio to become batal. He had many to be mavatal. Fine. So let's see this case again of the Litra Katsiyos. Denan Litra Katsiyos Shidasa al Pi Eagle. Let's say it was pressed on this barrel. The Enu Yodeh Be'ez Eagle Drasa. But we don't know which one was pressed. So we put the truma on top of one barrel and chulin on all the bottom barrels, and the rest on the top of the barrels. So he kind of mixed up truma with chulin. So the question is, what does he do? He doesn't know which one. So Omer says, Rabbi Lezer Omer, as we continue to Dalam and Aleph, Royin es hel yoinos ki'iluhin perudais. We look at the top ones as though they're separated. That, as Rashi says, im ein kan mea, if let's say it's not a 1 to 100 ratio of heter. Vatachtoinos, and the bottom ones, ma'alois es elyonos, will nullify the top ones. Says Rashi, the hoyel utrumas paris derbanan mekilin, he goes lenient. He says, okay, even though it's not a 100 to 1 ratio, we can still create it as though it is. If let's say the other kalim have a 100 to 1 ratio, then we will count it. If these upper portion. V'im lav, if not hapumin asurin, then the upper portion is aser. V'ashulayim, and the bottom portion, which you know you didn't put it there, mutarn. V'huda omer, belezer omer, omer im yesham mea pumin yal. If it's 100 on the upper portion, it counts. V'im lav hapumin asurin v'hashulim mutarim. And he says, then only, again, the top part is going to be aser, but not like the edge or any other parts. And here's the main line. He says it doesn't make any difference, it will never count. So by liter katzios, it's like an egg is only sometimes counted, yet Rabbi Yeshua considers it as a davar shemiminyan, and it's not batal. Darsa be'eagle be'eniodeh be'eza eagle darsa. Let's say, again, you pressed it, but you don't even know which one it was. So divir kol yalu. So we say that all of them are included. It's easier because when you at least know that was on the top. So then the mixture question is, can you count the bottom ones? But if you don't have a clue, so then everything could count to mimavatal it. Divri hakol hainu plutayu. What do you mean? Isn't it the machlokas? Samra papa hakagamar. Darsa be'eagle yodeh be'eza makam eagle. Dirasa eagle svainu in the rainbow, but on the north and the south, divri kol yalu, because then everything is counted. Fine, we're going to stop. We'll stop there. I don't want to end up just doing the entire daf. Okay, so let's see a couple questions, and maybe this will recap what we were talking about. Question 8. Mehem hatamim. What are the reasons? Deishlemer behad the suffix Beitzah shenel b'yamtav asura. What are the reasons why we said, in the case of a suffix, when it comes to an egg, that it's aser? So we only saw one answer. We'll see the second answer right away in tomorrow's daf. So according to Rav, it's because it's sveika deraisa, because this egg is a din of hachana, and because of that, it is aser. We will see in tomorrow's daf that the issue is it's a davar sheishal matirin, and even when it comes to a din derabanan, normally you would say, what do you mean? You should go l'chumra, you go l'kula, but we say davar sheishal matirin, even midrabanan is not batal, which again is going to be the chiddush, which we'll recap on tomorrow's daf. Okay, let's continue with TA 8. Matanya echad Beitzah shano l'mishabes usfeka asura. It says that the suffix it is aser. Madua. So as we said, according to Rabbi, it's a suffix deraisa because of hachana. That's the reason why we say a case of suffix by an egg it is aser. A second explanation, either it's hachana, which is din deraisa, or we're talking about suffix treifa, and therefore it's also sveka deraisa, or it's a davar sheishal matirin sveko aser nafilim min rabban, which again is what we'll see on tomorrow's daf. So again, we're getting a little bit ahead of myself. Question 10 or TB10. Beitzah suffix noel to b'yamtiv suffix noel to b'choil mahadin u'mahatab. So what's the din about this egg? So it's aser. According to Rabbi, mishum sveka deraisa l'chomra, or mishum the davar sheishal matirin as lin l'chomra b'sveka fil min rabbanan. Similar types of questions. Ad kan.